Hey, it's 150 days until Christmas 2020. And today I wanted to spend some time just following up on a video I watched yesterday from the Den of Nerds. Josh had posted a video about fixing the sequel trilogy, and I don't know that I think that it needs fixed a lot. But one thing that Josh prefaced his video with, and let me just bring that up here if anybody hasn't seen it. So this is the video we're talking about. He prefaced the video by saying, hey, this is just for fun. This is a thing that Star Wars fans like to do, and I would add to that that a lot of sports fans do. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacking, as they call it here, coaching from the couch, where folks like to cheer on their favorite team or encourage their favorite teams, or Monday morning quarterbacking is another term they use to say on Monday everybody's talking about the games over the weekend and what the team could have done differently to win, or to correct some mistakes, if only this or if only that. Hey Trinity, thanks for joining. Good to see you. So I thought I would just follow up on this just a little bit here on the front end. It's been a bit of a different day for me today, for our household. This morning I got on to Adam's channel and was participating a little bit in Fanjecture's morning coffee thing. Hey Spencer, welcome, good to see you. And so I was on there, and then we had to make a trip to the vet. One of our pets was very sick over the weekend, and so I had to leave Adam's show a little bit early, and then drive to the vet. I was listening to the Den of Nerds this morning, got to the vet, and unfortunately we had to euthanize the pet. So I wasn't able to participate in the rest of the stream and wasn't able to follow up afterwards. So got a bit of a weird start on the day. Not the best of days. The animal had been sick, so we knew this was coming, but still yet you care for an animal for years and take care of it, and when it comes time at the end of their life to put them out of their pain and misery, suffering, and this had been kind of bleeding internally throughout the weekend. There's a lot of blood and a lot of nastiness involved. So we know we did the right thing. We know that that suffering had to come to an end. It's not right to let an animal prolong that suffering over a long period of time. So that's how our day started. A bit odd, but I still wanted to come on this evening and talk with you all and kind of go through this video that Josh posted yesterday, and just kind of give my 2 cents. And I did within there. If you look through the chat, I've got mine up here. But here's just sort of my thoughts. So as I go through, I've got ready for this discussion. I thought maybe we would do this together, and we'd get some of your all's thoughts along the way. Thanks, Trinity. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you guys. Look, it's the part of being a pet owner. It's the difficult part, where pets give you a lot of happiness and companionship. They do a lot to make our lives better, and at the end of their lives, it's a very, very difficult thing to do as a pet owner, to do the right thing by them. It's only the right thing to do, and it's how we repay them for all the good that they did us. Is first of all, we care for them throughout their lives, but then come the end of life, we need to do what's right so that they don't suffer. So R.C. Scott, good afternoon. So let's get into this. So Adam went through, and I'm going to agree with him on the first point here that he made in his video, as far as The Force Awakens. And at the end of that on Starkiller Base, I think a lot of people forget, like they remember that Rey beat Kylo, and there's a great big controversy that came up, and Josh is right that it kind of led to a lot of the talk about Rey being a Mary Sue, and that whole debate kind of started from Rey beating Kylo at the end of The Force Awakens. Now, personally, I don't have a problem with it because there's a lot of things I think people either undervalue or forget. And in this battle that they had, in the large part, Rey is getting handled very, very effectively. Kylo is pushing her back. He's constantly deflecting whatever meaningless jab she makes at him, and he's just beating her back and beating her back and beating her back. And prior to that, you may remember that he uses the Force, pushes her up 20 or 30 feet up and away and into a tree, and it knocks her unconscious for a little bit. She falls to the ground, and Finn comes, checks on her, and then picks up the lightsaber and has a bit of a duel with Kylo there, and ends up wounding Kylo in his shoulder during that battle. Prior to that, Kylo had just killed his father. Emotionally, he's kind of torn in half. And I love some of the examples that people have used in, like Voldemort, right? Taking a soul splits your soul. And when he took his father's life, it put him in a state of unbalance. And there's some great videos out there where people kind of did some more analysis of the imbalance that was brought to Ben's life. Ben and Kylo, you got this duality within him, and how he had been torn apart through that. He even says, "I'm being torn apart, and I don't know if I can do what I need to do." But from there, he becomes a very imbalanced character, and we see it through The Last Jedi. Even he's emotionally just unstable, and not only that, but immediately afterwards, he gets hit by the bowcaster from Chewie. A lot of people think that that's a glancing blow, like from a blaster, but that bowcaster actually shoots a quarrel that's got a metal shaft in it, and that metal shaft is then, according to Wikipedia, this is Star Wars lore stuff. This isn't like real life, so don't get me wrong. But that metal quarrel is plasma induced and then shot through that bowcaster. So he's got a metal quarrel that went in him or through him with plasma infused, and then he's been bleeding. He was injured by Finn. He had already bested Rey by just pushing her into the tree, using the Force and knocking her unconscious. And then when she picks up the fight, he just knocks her back and knocks her back. But once Rey settles and centers on the Force, then she takes over that battle. And that is where folks then start to fall apart. Never mind that Kylo is injured. He's been bleeding. He's emotionally unstable. And at the point where she starts beating him, he doesn't have any desire to kill her. And so he goes on the defensive, but not in a way that he would injure her. But I'll agree with Josh, and I'll agree with a lot of the detractors to say, if we had just ended that battle as they were being pushed back, as he was pushing Rey back, and have Rey fall and have the ground split, her being bested by Kylo, the image, the memory that people would have had at the end of The Force Awakens would not be one of Rey besting Kylo, but rather of her being handily beat. And then we could leave that and have her go to meet Luke. And last week I did a video. We talked about this fan theory out there, and it's just a fun theory. It doesn't hold any weight, and it can be broke apart really easily. But the theory goes that Luke was dead all along. And if Luke was dead, it would explain why he was still on Octo, why he didn't get back with others. I would have, I like that theory, and by just pushing it a little and ignoring some of the things, you could make it work. Had they just made Luke dead, and he's a Force ghost on Octo. Octo's a very powerful Force place, and he is materialized there in physical form because of the power that's in Octo, but he's isolated off because he's dealing with this idea of him already being dead and coming to terms with it. And Rey shows up. I would have left it. I think that's a good theory. It handles a lot of the problems people have with Luke leaving for so long and being gone. All of this. So I would have had at the end of The Force Awakens, she meets Luke. Either you give away at this point because you have the blue glow of a ghost, or you do it more like The Sixth Sense, and he figures out that he's a ghost, that he's already dead. Maybe at this point, when Rey gets there, he still hasn't come to terms with it, and he's sort of in that in between. So that's the changes I would have made to The Force Awakens, and then that leads us to The Last Jedi. And in The Last Jedi, one of the things I would have done is change the scene where Leia and Akbar are blown out into space. We see Kylo. He's targeting in on the vessel on the bridge, and he senses his mother is there, and he pulls his hand off the trigger last minute. Had we left there at that point, and Leia and Akbar are there, and the events could have still progressed on, because what happens is Leia gets jettisoned out, right? Akbar gets jettisoned out, and then she ends up coming back, and she revives later, and she's involved with Holdo in planning to escape down to Crate. But had we not blown her out into space, she still could have been in charge. She still could have demoted Poe, and the story still would have largely carried on as is, except Leia in charge of what's going on there. And they still could have had Finn and let me pull up here. Yeah, you still could have had Finn and Rose go on this journey to the other ship in a clandestine manner to break that tracking mechanism, and that could have still been a big part of it, but they still could have been captured. Everything still could have gone the way it is. So largely by eliminating the Canto Bight scene, largely by still having them involved in the planning, and maybe Leia is involved in that planning, and she sends Finn and Rose on this journey, then they still could have done that. Things still could have played out largely the way they did. And I don't know if you still have your code breaker on there or not. The code breaker could have already been on the ship. He could have been put with them to go there as that aid. Or you just get rid of that character entirely. So either way, that could have worked. The last part, as far as getting rid of the Canto Bight scene, is what do you do with the broom boy that kind of shows up at the end? And my thought is, well, if you're showing more of the Resistance folks on those ships, you could show intact families with their children. The children are going through the hardships with their parents. The children are being schooled and whatnot as they're escaping, and it kind of builds that tension and fear, and there's the sense of loss that's happening because these families are being killed. So that could have worked. Mike, I don't want to ignore your comment, so I just wanted to get through this part here, and I'll come back. So let me read here. Mike says, you can disregard if you want. I understand the Mary Sue argument. I've always liked the Rey character. I didn't like the Kylo Ren character. I know he's conflicted, and I think he's wishy-washy and whiny. Yeah, look, I'm a huge fan of Rey as well. The Mary Sue arguments for me fall flat, and I've got a lot of reasons for that, and I just don't buy into it as much. I connect with Rey's character a lot more. She to me means a lot. She connects with me on a personal level very, very well. And Kylo, yeah, he is whiny, and he's very emo, right? So the term, right? He's had things go his way. He's born of royalty. He's got all of this privilege that he should have from being the son of a princess and a leader and a hero, right? So he's got everything coming, but he's a bit of a rebel, somebody who's kind of turned away from his family's goodwill. There's a very strong correlation with Knives Out. If you've watched that movie, the author of this book, Knives Out, right? His children are spoiled, impetulant, just terrible people, and there's characters in there that are very similar to Kylo, as far as how that's set up as well. So, yeah, Darth Vader light. Yeah, I don't even know if he qualifies as the Darth Vader light. In there's an interesting in the Rise of Skywalker, where at the very beginning, Palpatine says, "I'm every voice that you ever heard," and we learn in the comics and some of the expanded text that Palpatine had actually been orchestrating things from behind scenes, and I'll get to this in just a moment, but he had been constantly in Luke's head, he had been constantly in Kylo's head, and he had been kind of working, using the Force and manipulating their emotions, their feelings, and their thoughts for decades. And for Kylo, in the comics, where you see Kylo dealing with Palpatine earlier, he's in a bit of an abusive kind of situation, and we later learned that Palpatine was actually, pushing that. So there's a lot to be said for that, and the movies don't play that out well enough, in my opinion. They could have executed that more so that we understood Palpatine's involvement more. And I'll get to that in just a moment. So just wanted to kind of finish this up, acknowledge what you had said, and then get back to this outline. So the next change, we've gotten rid of the Canto Bight. Everything in The Last Jedi primarily plays out the way it does. One change being that throughout The Last Jedi, it could go very much like The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis's character. Throughout the movie, Luke comes more and more to a realization of what has happened, but he actually trains Rey. If we saw at the end of The Force Awakens, Rey does not get that win over Kylo, and she then goes to Luke to be trained. He isn't the reluctant teacher, but rather a willing teacher, and he's involved in teaching her and discovering his own state, replaying what had happened in the past. They need to tweak some of that stuff, but it could very well work if Rey is actually being trained by Luke, and that again removes a big portion of the complaints from The Last Jedi. The next part is to kind of build on what I kind of alluded to already. In The Force Awakens, there are some lines where Snoke gives some clues that maybe he and Palpatine have something. Maybe he is a Palpatine, maybe he's a reincarnation of Palpatine, maybe he's being influenced by Palpatine as a puppet. And Star Wars Theory is one of the guys who picked up on this idea that maybe Snoke was Palpatine early on. And he did a couple of videos about it. And one of the points is just in The Force Awakens. Some of the quotes that Snoke says to Kylo, only Luke and Palpatine and Anakin would know. Some of that information happened that we saw, but as far as people who lived through it and saw those events, it leads to, okay, how did Snoke know this stuff? And there were all kinds of theories about who Snoke is, and of course, the Ryan is popular. He had that meme, "Your Snoke theory sucks," and that got him in a lot of trouble as well. A very, very bad decision on his part to attack the fans that way, because these theories kind of help build the fandom. So anyhow, there was that going through The Force Awakens. There were some of those quotes that kind of gave clues that maybe Snoke was involved. Had this throne room scene built upon that, and had Snoke furthered this connection to Palpatine, that revealed maybe even that Palpatine was active and that he was having conversations with him. Perhaps in this, in his dialogue, he could have revealed more clues, or just came all the way out with it. I think probably you want to save that reveal until the last one, but the jarring thing, what made a lot of people think that the Palpatine thing was a last minute decision, is because they didn't set it up very well. So if you get these small clues in The Force Awakens, you build on them in The Last Jedi. Allow Snoke to really explore more of that influence from Palpatine. Even maybe perhaps that line in The Rise of Skywalker where Palpatine says, "I'm every voice you heard in your head." Had that come out in The Last Jedi, that would have a potential to have been a really kind of earth-shattering kind of thing, and then left us waiting to hear the rest of that. So that could have been interesting. And with Kylo killing Snoke in this throne room scene, it could have been a lashing out that, hey, I've been manipulating you all along, kid, right? Like, everything that you think you know, you don't know, and that makes him lash out and kill Snoke. That could have worked very well. And then, as a result, we could have heard that line, every voice you've ever heard, in Kylo's head after he had killed Snoke, which would have been interesting, and it would give us a lot to wait for Rise of Skywalker, and for people to anticipate. So that's the changes I would have made to The Last Jedi, I think. Let me just check here. Yeah. So we've talked about The Force Awakens changes, The Last Jedi changes. The last are some of the changes that I would have liked to seen in The Rise of Skywalker. And the first one here is the vats that had the copies of Snoke. So at the very beginning, when Kylo arrives and he's walking through, you see these vats, and you see kind of Snoke in suspended states. I would have preferred had they done this with Rey. So in these vats, instead of seeing Snoke in suspended states, seeing copies of Rey, and see that Rey is a clone creation, and that through this that it's revealed. And I thought that the mirror scene in The Last Jedi set it up really, really well, and that it could have been paid off tremendously had we seen in these vats like copies of Rey in suspended state. And then when we get a little bit further in, and I think that's my next slide, yeah, when she actually encounters Dark Rey, that Dark Rey, instead of being a vision, is one of the clones, and that it had been a successful clone, and that she could have done battle with that clone on the Death Star 2. Rather than a vision, it's actual battle. And this battle is something that carries out of the throne room chamber, and then Kylo engages in it. And I think we could have had a excuse me, could have had a three-way combat here, with each of them battling the other two at the same time. You could have had Dark Rey, and Kylo going at it outside in the rain, and that battle could have been epic. It was, I think, as it plays out, it was an epic battle. But rather than being a vision, you've got Dark Rey there, and all three of them are having to fight against each other. In that, then you could have had Dark Rey kill Kylo, and she could have killed him, and at that point Rey kills her, and then Rey is able to revive Ben, as she did. So again, the scene still primarily, right, the story still primarily follows along the way that it did. No huge changes that completely changed the movie, but just recontextualize things so that some of the complaints are laid out, and that set things up a little bit differently. Had Dark Rey been a cloned version, killed Kylo, or stabbed him through, and then Rey heals him, then and you see Ben revived, things still could have continued on. You still could have had a reunion scene with Ben and Han, which to me was one of the highlights of the movie. You still could have had everything come out the way, and then Rey goes back, has the conversation with Luke, gets the X-Wing. All of that still plays out exactly the way that it did, or primarily the way that it did. The next part is that Rey's parents then are not her parents, but rather they're resistance heroes or resistance fighters who stole her away from Palpatine, and has that whole cloning bit, right? Her parents in the Rise of Skywalker would not be her parents because she's a clone, right? She's a cloned being, and in this case, these two individuals were the ones who rescued her, took her to Jakku, and sold her off, right? And did that to put her into a safe situation away from Palpatine. They could have been either resistance type folks, or they could have just been like bounty type people who were just trying to make money, saw the opportunity, and it then fits into what we heard in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, where they were just filthy junk traders that sold her off for drinking money, right? They still could have been that, but they could have had this motivation to steal away this valuable asset of Palpatine's, and then they were killed in that process. So that covers the parentage, because and it fits in with the story. Then the next change is more involvement from Anakin. Oh, hello, a magic maker, reimagining Star Wars. Hey, thanks for joining. Good to see you here, my friend. For those of you, reimagining Star Wars and I do some collaborative work together, and this kind of falls into his area of expertise, reimagining Star Wars. That's right in the name of his channel, and doing some fan fiction stuff. So we're just kind of having fun with this. So that would be the next part, is increasing the involvement of Anakin. We see throughout the Rise of Skywalker, Rey trying to connect to these Force ghosts, and at the beginning she's doing training with Leia. I would much prefer that she had been perhaps training with Anakin's Force ghost at the beginning, and at the end here we get Anakin coaching her, encouraging her, helping with this battle with uh, Palpatine at the end. Let's see. I see you guys are commenting, so let me just kind of finish my thoughts here. If Anakin were that more involved, then we get more of that through line with Palpatine and Anakin from all the way from the Phantom Menace here to the Rise of Skywalker, and at the end of Return of the Jedi, of course, Vader tosses Palpatine down the shaft and is redeemed as Anakin and becomes the Force Ghost. And we learned then afterwards that Palpatine was able to transfer his essence. Anakin becomes aware of this, and he is helping Rey as she searches out Palpatine and then confronts him. I think that could have been fit in. So let's see. We got some. Let me get caught up here just a little bit. Mike, it made my feelings for the sequel trilogy a little better. Good. Just a few tweaks could have helped, but overall it's not trash like some say. Yeah, I wish Luke was stronger, but I like half. I feel the same way about the prequel trilogy, Mike. And I want to do a video probably in the next a little bit about changes to the prequel trilogy to fix it. And for me, again, this is just the Monday morning armchair quarterbacking, right? The coaching from the couch situation where we're just having fun. This isn't me tearing apart these movies. I'm just saying these are things that I would have thought would have been cool and would have been helpful for the story. So that's me. Dale. Good afternoon, Dale. Thanks for joining. Dale, if they showed that the clones are not as strong as Rey, that she is a natural born, or the clones were made from her, it could have worked as well. Yeah, I think so. That the Dark Rey, of course, is the version that survived and that Palpatine was able to coach and bring up, but she's got this flaw, right? And it comes just from being immersed in dark side and not having this connection to family and things that make her stronger. Spencer, thank you. I appreciate the comment. So far, liking the revisions and ideas. Thank you. Dale, it's been too long. Yeah. Reimagining. Yeah, the Luke is dead theory. I really do like that one too. And Rey should have been Luke's daughter. Oh, hey, different people have different thoughts. That's not one that I'm really big on. I like her being a clone, and when she says that she has no parents and all of this, that it carries out through her being a clone. We can learn that the clone biological material, and this is sort of key, that clone biological material is adapted from Anakin's flesh, from Luke's flesh, and some contributions from Palpatine, where he had been kind of trying to make a concoction that would make a Force being, and then you need some other parts involved because she doesn't have the resemblance to Luke, right? She's not a clone of Luke or a clone of Anakin. Those are biological materials that have been kind of put together along with others, and we can maybe learn that they brought in some other material to help with that concoction that ends up being Rey. So, yeah, Magic Maker. I know we're again, a Magic Maker is a good friend of mine. We've talked about these things in length, so that's good. Spencer, never heard of the Luke is dead theory till today. Go back and check my video on that I did last week, and I've got a picture of the kid from Sixth Sense, and I talk about it, and it is actually a theory that can work itself out. So my next changes come right at the end of the movie. So we've had more involvement from Anakin. Anakin is involved in training Rey at the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker. Anakin is there at the end when she defeats Palpatine. And then at the end, when we get this question from the old lady that says, Rey who? Right? So she first says, who are you? And Rey responds, I'm Rey. She says, Rey who? For me, the best answer would have just been just Rey, right? That was how she had normally responded. That's how I would have preferred it, even though now she knew that she was this cloned thing, a cloned being, and it was made up of, and she had this other kind of uh, history that she could just say, just Rey. For me, that would have been great. And then the payoff at the end, I would have included Hayden Christensen in here as Anakin, and you could have had Anakin, Luke, and Leia together at the end. Even, and again, this is me. You could have put Yoda and Obi-Wan in there. The Ewan McGregor. I'm not sure if you kind of rotoscope in Alec Guinness. That's probably the preferred method, to rotoscope him in and then to take Yoda and put him in. And you could have had Luke and Leia, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin here. All of the Force gifts. It would have mirrored that, as George Lucas is famous for saying, like it echoes. It would have very much echoed the Return of the Jedi. So that's where I would have been there at the end, and those are the changes I would have made, and those still followed the storyline. It's nothing that changes the sequel trilogy completely. And some of the things that I know that other people have suggested, and that Josh did, with having Rey accept the hand of Kylo at the end of Last Jedi, or going completely dark, and all of those kind of things, that those cause huge divergences from the movies, and then you would have had a different movie. There's something else would have had to have happened, because part of the story that is set up by that, we don't see. The changes that I'm suggesting are things that would have still kept the through line of the story, but would have maybe dealt with a lot of the negativity regarding Rey, regarding Palpatine being brought back, and the lack of Anakin, and then how Luke was treated in The Last Jedi. Those things would have reduced the negativity associated with the sequel trilogy tremendously. Yeah, it rhymes, right? So having Luke dead all along explains where he had been those 30 years or whatever. That he was not able to kind of fully transition, more like in The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, right? Like Bruce Willis didn't know he was dead in that movie, right? Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, sorry about that, I gave it away. Go watch The Sixth Sense, and you kind of see how he discovers that he was dead. That Luke could have done that as well. So for me, those are the changes I would have made. I think it would have been fun, and we wouldn't be with quite the division in the fandom that we do. Now, don't get me wrong. The Star Wars fandom is a fickle fandom, and there's still been a group of folks picking it apart, or making huge deals of things they didn't like. So I'm not delusioned by any of that. So that's it. There's a couple of other news stories. I'll keep watching the chat here, and we'll interact. But I thought I would just go back. Last week there were a couple videos that I was prepared to put out, and then I just didn't get to them. One of them was about the whole Lando. We got a leak or a rumor dropped last week that they were planning to do a series focused on Lando Calrissian, maybe the Lando Chronicles or something. And I did a video before about Alden and how he had heard some things, and then we started late in the week to hear some smoke about, or see some smoke about maybe Ray Park being involved with reprising his role as Maul. And then I heard a little bit about Kira being involved. So I even saw some tweets saying, so basically we're getting Solo 2. And that's what it looked like, is maybe that some of the leaks and rumors coming out were just different pieces of the story, and that perhaps we were going to get the Crimson Dawn explored further, and the folks behind the Solo 2 seeing that come to fruition in the form of some Disney Plus series that would have covered the rest of that storyline. And then, of course, Ray Park got in all kinds of trouble over the weekend, and there's a lot of controversy going out there. You get the whole cancel culture thing ready to jettison him. But I think, even in all fairness, if he released those videos with complete cooperation from his wife, and they did that together, and it wasn't any kind of revenge situation or against her will, you still have a big problem with Ray Park. So he's in a lot of trouble. I don't know that he's going to be able to continue forward. I know that Josh talked about it briefly on his live stream this morning, but again, I was at the vet and we had to euthanize our pet, and I had to drop off that stream, so I wasn't able to hear the rest of it, and I don't know if anything else came up, but I think he I agree with Josh. He shouldn't have put that out there, and in whatever form, in whatever context, it's a bad look. So that's the situation there. I do think that we are going to see something in the Solo 2 space, whether that's focusing primarily on Lando or focusing on the Crimson Dawn. Maybe we get some combination, and I don't think it's an out of possibility that Alden isn't involved, and we get the whole cast brought in to continue those stories in some fashion. Maybe some limited series around the Crimson Dawn, some stuff around Han Solo, and some stuff around Lando, it told differently. So that's it. Mike, not totally against a sequel for Solo, especially Disney Plus show, as long as it's good. That's the key. It's got to be good. Spencer, Lando series would be cool. He was the best part in Solo. I found the Solo movie sort of pointless for the most part. Pieced together parts of Han's backstory. Yeah, Spencer, that's a valid criticism of Solo. It's primarily showing us the stories that we had heard. And I would go back to say it's similar to the changes they made to A New Hope by putting Jabba the Hutt in some of the scenes. Han had already told us those things with Greedo, and then he tells the same things to Jabba the Hutt. It's the same, nothing is revealed by adding Jabba. Going back and doing these stories with the Kessel Run and losing the ship to Lando, or Lando, losing the ship to Han, all of that we had heard in the original trilogy, and then we just get some of it extended, and we get to see it on screen. Well, that's fine, but I think where it ended is the best part, because we saw Maul at the end, and we saw Kira involved with the Crimson Dawn. It was a bit of a twist, and for folks that had not followed with the Clone Wars animated series, that was a bombshell. And I know I had friends on Facebook and things messaging me like, Brian, you need to explain. Santa, you need to explain to me how this happened. Why is Maul alive? I don't get it. So there's that. I mean, now his lightsaber works out there for, yeah. Oh, Magic Maker, you're being ornery. That's good. That's funny. So, um, yeah, I think that they set up. I think Solo really set up the series, the stories to be continued, and it would have been great to see where those went, and trying to get those greenlit to go forward. I think more fans would enjoy that. Renee, can't get over how he got his name, but overall, Solo was a fun movie. Oh, okay, Renee, uh, I am totally with you. How he got his name, Han, and he didn't have a last name, and he goes, "Well, I'm alone." Okay, Han Solo. Stupid, stupid, stupid. That was ridiculous. I also didn't like L3 in that movie, and I kind of cheered when she died. But that, maybe I wasn't supposed to feel that way, but that's how I felt. And her getting absorbed into the Falcon explains some of the characteristics that the Falcon has. And I thought, okay, that's fine. I just really did not care for that droid. And I hope that going forward it picks up at the end of Solo so that we don't get more of L3. So let's see. I'd love to see Han and Chewie in the job for Jabba that went south. Maul and Crimson Dawn were involved. Yeah, all that would be great. And I think there's room for a crime syndicate between the Crimson Dawn and the Hutts. I think there's a lot of room for to see that whole crime syndicate channel and some of the infighting and fighting for turf territory and all of that. So that'll be good. That's good stuff. So that's the Star Wars news as it comes. So let's see what else. Get caught up. Do you think Han saying "I fly alone"? Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was terrible. So not a fan of that at all. Look, I appreciate talking to you guys. I've had fun with this afternoon. I was hoping maybe we'd get Josh in here and try to defend himself. But again, I thought he did a good job at the beginning of his. I'll bring this back up again just so folks can see. Josh did a good job at the beginning of his video of saying that, look, this is just a good fun. And it's what Star Wars fans do. It's what sports fans do. We all talk about our fandom, the things that we love and the things we'd like to see different. I think reimagining Star Wars is on the right path. He leads a Discord channel that talks about fan fiction and writing your own fan fiction. He's interested in helping people with their writing skills and developing their stories. If you haven't found him, look for Reimagining Star Wars on YouTube. Look for his Discord channel. I'll try to put links in the description here so that if you're interested in writing fan fiction, you're interested in talking to other people about fan fiction, and just reimagining how these movies or the stories could be written, that's what he has a passion around, and he's a great guy. And just for a little context, he and I first met each other as we were part of Thor Skywalker's Discord. So that'll just give you a little context around that. Not that that means anything here or there. All right, that's it. That is it for this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Thanks again for joining this afternoon, this evening, wherever it is you may be. One last point is last week I hit 100 subscribers. It was fantastic, but then I lost one. So the last time I checked, I was sitting at 99. If you guys could help me get back over 100, that would be great. Let me go check. Let's see. Where am I? 99. So if you could do me a huge favor, like, share, put this out, subscribe. That would just help me out a lot to get over that 100 mark, 100 subscriber mark, and maybe stay there. That would just mean a lot to me. I'm trying to talk about Star Wars from just a passion and love for the franchise, and talk about it in a way that's constructive, not destructive or hurtful. And that doesn't mean that I agree with everything, as we talked about here today. There are lots of things I would like to see changed, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about the prequel trilogy. That'll be a lot of fun. So, with that, I'll sign off here. Wish you guys the best, and we'll talk again soon.